It's another Thursday and that time of day when we bring you another informative Jamaica Magazine. Today we highlight programs, policies and initiatives to provide labor opportunity, stability and social protection. Plus, recognizing the dedication of our nurses. Those and much more coming up, including the top stories of the day. Hello there, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome.
What a way you're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
A whole way of celebrating it. They say the people them, you know, them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people, them free paper, burn up. Them say, if it's war, start it, whatever. We are collect medal, panta fight, you know.
Medal.
Amount of tongue, we did them, you know.
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app to know what it pre.
Why pre?
Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
Yeah. If you don't know the app to get the updates then.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry and this is your JIS News for Thursday, May 12, 2022. The National Works Agency, NWA, is to urgently commence condition surveys on all the roads under central government control and step up its enforcement of the performance standards for road maintenance projects. The directive comes from the minister responsible for the works portfolio, Everald Warmington. He says the condition survey, to be done by the planning department through its road planning unit, is needed to create a realistic maintenance program and allow for the necessary funding to be sourced. The minister has also directed the NWA to improve its supervision of contractors engaged to rehabilitate roads to ensure they are delivering quality work.
As we simply cannot continue along the same road, where we spend to rehabilitate only to be back at square one shortly thereafter. Closer supervision will have to be done and must be done by the responsible staff of the NWA to ensure that quality of work meets the required standard and specification.
For performance standard, he says the most effective team size, equipment, methods and procedure for performing the works will be defined for each significant maintenance project. A national road service improvement program is also being put in place to guide the NWA's routine maintenance program.
We'll have regular training sessions for contractors involved in our road maintenance program. Madam Speaker, this government is unwavering in its stance that the method and procedures developed by the National Works Agency for the effective maintenance of our roads must be fully understood before projects are assigned to these contractors.
Minister Warmington was making his sectoral presentation in Parliament yesterday. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, KSAMC, will be embarking on a comprehensive drain cleaning program in several communities across the corporate area. Deputy Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Winston Ennis, made the disclosure during the KSAMC's monthly council meeting on Tuesday. He says the initiative, which seeks to reduce flooding, forms part of the KSAMC's annual preparedness activities for the Atlantic hurricane season that runs from June 1 to November 30. Councillor Ennis says a list of drains has been completed by the City Engineers Department and a comprehensive schedule has been developed. The full rollout of the eGov core networking equipment infrastructure is expected in August of this year to boost government's communications network, GovNet. Technology Minister Darrell Vaz says the government sites earmarked for hosting the GovNet equipment are now 95% complete.
In the 2022-23 financial year, eGov will focus on the further advancement of the GovNet infrastructure. This will be done through the build-out of the fiber network in the KMA, the build-out of the network core by receiving, installing and configuring the networking equipment.
The build-out of the GovNet infrastructure is being done with funding support from the Universal Service Fund and the Spectrum Management Authority, while the procurement of eGov equipment is being done through the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB. 1,100 Chromebooks valued at $27 million will be distributed to schools across St. Thomas. Education Minister Favor Williams has welcomed the donation from the St. Thomas Renaissance Foundation, courtesy of technology company Google. During the recent handover ceremony held at the St. Thomas Technical High School, she said that as government remained committed to improving educational outcomes, the use of technology was critical.
Technology will remain an important part of the education system. We accepted it. There was great acceptance during the COVID pandemic.
The donation from the St. Thomas Renaissance Foundation is the latest contribution to the ministry's One Laptop or Tablet per Child initiative. And finally, the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, BSJ, through its Testing and Industrial Services branch, continues to lend support to operators in the construction industry. Branch Manager Richard Lawrence says a wide range of services are offered to meet the requirements of individuals and private and public sector operators. Mr. Lawrence, who was speaking at a recent JIS think tank, says businesses that use the services of the TIS branch will have access to international experts through the BSJ.
The BSJ has moved from a regulator to a facilitator. There's access to construction standards and building codes so that you can design and build correctly from the get-go.
The TIS branch performs testing on a wide range of building and civil engineering materials. The branch also conducts technical assessment of building systems, on-site building defect investigations, and participates in the review and development of national and international standards, including the Jamaica National Building Codes. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Do you own land and need a title? Well, the National Land Agency NLA can help. Through the systematic land registration process, the NLA will assist residents to get titles in declared project areas across Jamaica. Systematic land registration is the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area known as systematic adjudication area. For further information on the systematic land registration process, including declared systematic adjudication areas, who can apply and the benefits, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm or email asknla@nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency, one goal.
From strengthening legislation to secure the rights and social welfare of workers and citizens to providing an environment that enables employment, let's recap those programs and policies of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security.
The government continues on a strong path to provide for and to safeguard the rights of vulnerable Jamaicans through major investments in and partnerships to modernize our social protection systems.
Several interventions are being made by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to secure adequate social protection for the vulnerable. Among them is improved benefits for pensioners under the National Insurance Scheme NIS next year. The Minister, Carl Samuda, says recommendations from the 2019 actuarial review were delayed by the pandemic, but both 2019 and 2022 reports will be completed by early next year. Amendments made in 2021 to the National Insurance Act addressed increases in the insurable ceiling as well as contribution rates. The NIS is also continuing efforts to transition the outstanding 33% of local pensioners to electronic payments, with 2/3 of them already getting their pensions directly disbursed into their bank accounts.
Everything in the Ministry of Labour in short order will be digitized and electronically dealt with.
To ensure the sustainability of the National Insurance Fund NIF, a new and more robust organizational structure and investments policy will be implemented. A final report of the NIF Investment Management Review Commission will guide this process.
This new structure and investment policy is expected to maximize rates of return while minimizing risk, generate strong cash flows to meet current obligations, and facilitate reinvestment, and to provide a hedge against inflation.
At February 2022, net asset value of the fund stood at $141.71 billion, with total investment income at $10 billion. This financial year, the NIF will be activating plans to generate more income. This includes developing lands owned by the NIF in Clarendon into a government service center. $108 million is earmarked for pre-construction and professional services. The NIF has engaged state agencies for other developments in downtown Kingston, Morant Bay, and Port Antonio. Other investment opportunities have been earmarked to develop NIF lands in Portland, St. James, and St. Andrew.
The NIF will be spending approximately $30 million during fiscal year 22-23 to improve investment properties within the portfolio for compliance with the Disabilities Act and related building codes.
To enable a more efficient service, the NIS Kingston and St. Andrew office will be renovated at a cost of $221.5 million. The onset of COVID-19 has propelled the ministry to engage stakeholders on the need for an unemployment insurance. Minister Samuda says dialogue has begun with the International Labour Organization (ILO), and the government is working assiduously to have an unemployment insurance that fits the Jamaican context.
I am looking forward to the day in the not too distant future when the announcements will be made by this administration that all workers in Jamaica have access to another benefit that underscores the importance of income security.
Beneficiaries of the Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH will see an increase in payments come June of this year. Cabinet recently approved an average increase of 18.26% or $1.4 billion for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Minister Samuda says the number of PATH beneficiaries receiving electronic payments will also be increased to 70%. Another significant increase to take place is the addition of 20,000 beneficiaries on the government's social pension program from the current 7,412.
The budget is in place to facilitate this uptake. We will also be rolling out the life certificate, which will, of course, confirm that the person receiving the benefit is still alive.
As the Disabilities Act comes into full effect, the government is moving to entrench legislation to ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are protected.
As the financial year progresses, you will see more deliberate effort in the implementation of the Act. This will ensure greater equality of participation and non-discrimination in the areas of education, employment, health, and justice.
Government is the largest employer of the disabled. Minister Samuda urges employers to hire persons with disabilities.
As a society, we must do more to ensure that our brothers and sisters living with disabilities have greater access and are not underemployed or discriminated against in the workplace. And anywhere we find evidence and can successfully prove that evidence, we will be bringing the matter to court.
The ministry is working to have the Occupational Safety and Health Bill tabled in the House of Representatives this fiscal year.
The tabling of the enhanced bill will be accompanied by an extensive public education and awareness campaign spanning the length and breadth of Jamaica.
Meanwhile, amendments are being sought for 3 key pieces of legislation to ensure the protection and rights of all domestic workers. This is to give effect to the ratification of the International Labour Organization Domestic Workers Convention C-189. Compared to year 1 of the COVID-19 pandemic, the local labour market experienced a rebound in 2021. This was supported by a 7.1% decline in unemployment at the end of 2021 and a 6.6% increase in the employed labor force as at October 2021. Moving offshore, over 14,000 persons were placed in overseas employment in the last financial year. The ministry is working to increase this number by crafting a marketing strategy to target traditional and non-traditional jobs. It will deploy more liaison officers to engage overseas employers. Dialogue has also been had with employers to waive processing fees that will be recouped after employment. The ministry will improve the processing of work permits with the acquisition of a new web-based and mobile-friendly system. The work permit and skill certificate management system will cost approximately $875,000, with implementation projected for the end of the year. In the meantime, the Jamaica Productivity Center is in the final stages of attaining ISO 9001-2015 certification. Further to that, the National Policy on Productivity is being developed as a strategic tool to improve productivity. This will inculcate a culture that prioritizes productivity across various sectors of the economy.
It will also promote the manufacturing of higher value-added goods and services.
The Ministry of Labor and Social Security, promoting productivity for growth, maintaining an effective and efficient labor market while advocating and supporting social inclusion for all.
In recognition of International Nurses Day, we highlight the dedication of nurses here in Jamaica. Let's hear some of the inspiring stories behind the career.
Your first glance, and it's quite easy to describe a distinctive, often immaculate and largely undecorated attire. Quite mundane for many, but their lives are far from the mundane. It's one that's quite astonishing most days, while other days come with its own bit of terrifying events. Really, there's nothing humdrum about their jobs.
Hi, my name is Dominique Millen and I have been a nurse for 13 years. I chose nursing as a career because as a teenager, I experienced a devastating loss. At the time, I could not cope with the feelings I was experiencing, so I saw a way I could help the helpless. As a nurse, I love being a part of a medical team that goes above and beyond to save patients to life. It is amazing to see the things that people do when you work together to achieve one goal.
My name is Lillian Cook. I'm an acting ward manager, a registered specialist nurse, working at the Bustamante Hospital for Children for over 20 years. The word nurse to me means caring, helping those who are sick, and the greatest pleasure is to bring them back to health. When I was a child, growing up, I wanted to become a nurse. And at about the age 11, I read about Florence Nightingale. And that story was so inspiring, the lady with the lamp. And I decided in my mind from there that that's a profession I would choose for life.
So many of them stood and continue to stand as the backbone of the frontline workers in a pandemic that we knew too little about, while dealing with unprecedented strains and wounds that not even their gauze or surgical tapes could ever cover.
I remember the first time I heard about the COVID-19 virus hitting the shores of Jamaica. I knew this was it. My name is Norvelyn Mendez, and I have been a nurse for 14 years, and I have never experienced anything quite like the pandemic.
Working as a nurse during the pandemic at the hospital, it is very overwhelming to see that our medical resources have been stretched thin, and it is very devastating to see that family members can't be with the patients here.
Working in the pandemic has been very taxing emotionally and physically. The work demand becomes very hectic. You have to show up, you have to give the same amount of care, irrespective of the fact that the patient has a contagious illness. You work long hours, longer than normal, because sometimes there are staff members who are on quarantine or who have been exposed to the virus. And so you must now sometimes double up your time in order to give the care that the patients require.
I lost a colleague to COVID-19 last September. It was very, very difficult for us as colleagues to bear the news, feel the pain, especially when that person was so warmed. It was panic-driven. And when I heard that people were just dying, as if there was nothing that could spare life, it was really panicky for us. But when it came to our shores and we saw that people could really recover, yes, it touched us when we saw loved ones died, when you care for persons and the end result is death. But we were much happy when we start getting positive results of people who come in, treated, and return home.
Having lost a patient to COVID-19 has been emotional for me because the patient would have been in hospital over a period of time. And so after having been in hospital over a period of time, you develop that patient-care relationship, and so the patient would appear like a family member. And so when the patient dies, a part of you is affected.
Despite the losses, despite the faces of patients far too many to even count or recollect, persons like these continue to respond to the call to save lives daily, hourly, and with every ticking second of a clock.
So the lifelong lesson that I have learned as a nurse is that life is very fragile. You have it this minute and the next minute it is gone. And that is the reason I believe that each person should find the time to spend the time with those they love. Let them know in every way possible how much they mean to them, because life is fragile.
What motivates me being a nurse is that I can make a difference in a patient's life. I grew up with a strong family background of strong women. They always say, you turn up and show up and give your best.
I did not choose nursing. Nursing chose me. My advice to those who would like to pursue a career in becoming a nurse is that nursing is fun. It's a fun profession. You are never ever doing the same thing every day. If you are passionate about helping people to restore their health, to preserve life, to promote health, if you are passionate about humanity, this is a profession for you.
Even if I'm tired, when I go home in the evening, or at every time my shift ends, whether it's a night shift that ends in the morning, I just have this strong, compassionate feeling to continue my work. And I always look forward for the life that I'm going to touch tomorrow.
Unless you're in that room, you have no idea what we do. But I love my job.
I was meant to be a nurse.
I knew what I was getting into, but I chose it. And if I should start all over again, I will make the same choice. I'll nurse for life.
So here's a space where these healthcare providers are notorious for working long, grueling hours, giving of themselves, working tirelessly to allow someone, anyone, to see into the promise of tomorrow. A nurse's task isn't easy. So how about showing them some appreciation as we go about our daily lives?
Are you aware of how Jamaican adolescents use social media? What do they do online? What do they post? Do you know if they are being harassed? These are questions you should be asking yourself, because it is your duty to keep your children safe online. Parents, Here's what you need to do. Be active online and offline. Help your child to set up his or her online profile. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the different social media applications that they use and set some rules. Protect our nation's children and save them from cybercriminal attacks.
Android, iOS, non-internet based. It doesn't matter the brand, type, model, or cost. Phones need to be periodically cleaned. There are no apps, not yet, that will de-germ the outer surface of these mobile gadgets. And unless you have an ultraviolet UV sanitizer toolkit, you'll have to manually decontaminate the device. Germs are everywhere, and so too are our phones, inside a bag or pocket, on a table or counter, the car, bed, even in our hands. Placing our phones on these surfaces puts them in constant contact with germs, even the novel coronavirus. And according to the World Health Organization, the virus has a lifespan of up to 96 hours on surfaces. That's 4 full days on plastic or metals, the type of exterior shell of many phones. Constant touching of the phone with naked fingers that we then use to touch our faces, or directly placing the phone to our faces is a recipe for transmitting germs, bacteria, or viruses to the body.
First thing I do when I get home is I clean my phone. Because you're touching your phone and you're touching this surface that somebody else just touched, and then you put the phone to your mouth and you ha. And all of these particles that have ended up on the phone, they end up in you.
Apart from just not using a phone, our only defense is to clean them regularly. Soap and water would be best, but no, you should not submerge your phone in liquid. Instead, first wash your hands with soap and water, then dry them. Ensure that your phone is unplugged to prevent a possible electrical shock. Then, dab a clean cloth, preferably a microfiber or lens cloth, with a 70% isopropyl alcohol solution, and wipe the entire surface of your phone. Do not drench the cloth with too much solution, just sufficient to clean the device. In addition, be careful to avoid getting moisture into any openings. If you don't have an alcohol-based cleaning solution at hand, you can also use alcohol wipes. You should ensure the wipes have a relatively high concentration of alcohol. The best is 70% and above. This ensures that any viruses that are on your phone can be effectively killed. While you sanitize your phone, avoid using aerosol sprays, abrasives, and cleaners. And do not spray directly onto the phone screen or back. Bleach should also not be used to clean the phone, as it may damage the surface. It is also best to wipe any relevant accessories used with your phone. Chargers, headsets, and phone cases should be sanitized at the same time you clean your device. They should also be removed from the device when cleaning. Now your phone and its friends are clean. To prevent putting your phone against your face or the likelihood of transferring germs or viruses, use Bluetooth, a virtual assistant or hands-free speaker system if you can.
This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. You may also find us on all the major social media platforms and through our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.